Hello, people of Facebook, if anybody's there. Trying to get all settled in. It's the end of the weekend, it's Sunday night, it's Facebook Live with YourTango. Let's see, anybody? I'm waiting. Let's see, it tells me when people come on, so I'm gonna wait for that before I see two people are watching. And now Ella's watching too. See, this is Ella. She's watching with you guys. If you're here, hi. Say hi. I see people on. Say hi and ask questions. I hope you're all here. I hope people can hear me. I see Kim. Yay. Okay, I know Kim's here. So Kim's here and Kim will talk because Kim has a lot of really good stuff to say. I talked to her. Hi, Paul. It's good to see you. You're always here. You're in England, right, Paul? So that's why it's morning. Hi, Kim. You see Annie. Oh! Ella just was very enthusiastic and jumped up on me and I knocked off my phone. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Chris. Hi, Mohammed. Chris, I know you have a question, so I'm going to answer your question first. Laura and Lori and Taylor. Is it Taylor James or is it James Taylor? Are you really James Taylor visiting? I know I see you every week and I think maybe it's James Taylor and I'd be really excited. Hi, Andrew and Lycia. I hate it when I pronounce people's names wrong, and if I do, I'm really sorry because my name is always pronounced wrong. I'm trying to be sensitive to it. I saw Melissa. I saw Annie. Oh, thank you, Annie. That's really sweet. Annie said I was pretty. Thank you. Hi, Deb. Hi. It's so cool how I'm recognizing names now week after week. It's really, really fun, and I love it that you guys are getting, I'm pretty sure you probably recognize each other's names too. Oh, Joanne can hear me. Good. I had a little bit of a sound glitch last week at my parents' place. Hi, Judy and Karen. Oh, Judy said, God, no. I don't know what that was about. Oh, Zemi said, I'm new. What's this all about? So thanks. That's a good reminder. So I'm Arianna Jeret. I'm a senior editor here at YourTango. And hi, Bayla. I'm so glad you could come back this time, and hopefully you can hear it this time. My cousin Bayla's here. Is what normal, Beth? I think you may have a question and I don't see it. Okay, so just really quick. So I'm a senior editor here. I have a master's in social work. Hi, Jason. Thanks for the good vibes. Melissa said I'm a doll. Thank you. So I'm here to answer any questions you guys have about sex, love, relationships, divorce, kink, fetishes, really anything. None of this is, you shouldn't consider any of it therapeutic advice or legal advice if we talk about anything related to divorce, but we're just all shooting the breeze together. And I love it when all of you talk to each other. Like last week, there was a woman who came on and was talking about some issues with her husband, and I saw that two people started, she started talking with people and they were gonna direct message each other and be supportive, and it's like amazing how that is happening. So I love it. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Stacy. So I just like to also make sure everybody knows that while I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep up with all of your comments and your questions. And so if I ever miss any of your questions, just know that I probably just didn't see it. I don't always see it in real time, the same time you guys are seeing it. So I try to scroll back and catch everything I can. So let's see. Hi to Mel. Hugo said he can't find love, and Rose said, how can I find a partner? So maybe you guys could match up. That would be kind of cool. What if we had like a matchmaking night here? I have to think about that. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to start with Chris, who came back this week, had a question last week, and I want to make sure that I get to that. And I just saw a bunch of other questions. Kim, I see yours about the chemistry checks, which I do. I love that. I love that concept too. So just really quick, Chris last week asked why men seem to be, I guess, I don't remember if the word was afraid that you used, Chris, either afraid or nervous about bringing sex toys into the bedroom. And, I think that it's really the same reason why a lot of women are, which is that it's just not something that we grow up talking about as a normal thing or hearing about as a normal thing. And when things aren't talked about, then we get like giggly and weird about them and feel a little bit ashamed about them, right? So I think for some men, you know, there's the aspect of feeling a little bit like, why am I not enough? Like, why does she need, like, why would she need to bring a dildo into the room if my penis is there? Like, isn't that enough for her, you know? Or why does she need a vibrator if I can, you know, rub her clit right or something like that? And for women, I think it's also more of the like, I think women just get really nervous about how they're being perceived and how, like, are men going to think that they're sluts? Are men going to think that they're, is she going to make him feel emasculated? Is she going to make him feel like he's less? And so we just worry a lot. And so I think that the key is just for everybody to be able to just accept that it's just a normal thing and it's just fun. And it's like, if you go to the pool, a pool is super fun by itself, even if you don't have any pool toys with you, but it's that much more fun if you bring them in, right? So it's not like you have to have them. It's not a need, but you know, why not? So I just saw there are so many questions tonight and I want to get to everybody. So I'm going to go back and see. There was one at the beginning that I want to make sure. Okay, so Maricela said, why do men think it's okay for them to string women along? Why can't they be honest? I mean, and I think that's also, you know, women for sure do that too. And I was talking, I think it was last week or the week before, somebody was talking about a guy who only texted her good morning and good night. And my opinion about that particular situation was that he was probably trying to like keep her in line, not like in line, like in control, but like in the line, like just in case things didn't work out with somebody else, or just in case he decided he wanted to get with her or something like that, that he was just doing enough to kind of keep her there in the picture. And I think that that's the same reason why people string people along, is that like, and it's not like they're trying to be evil or they're trying to not care about you. It's just that they don't want to possibly let go of something that they might want in the future. And instead of just, you know, having either the balls or the ovaries or whatever you have to, you know, just say, this is not, it's not what I want right now. Maybe it will be in the future. And if so, I'll have to take my chances and come back and try again with you. It's just a sort of way of being a little bit emotionally mature and a little bit emotionally greedy, I guess, and trying to keep everything that you want as a possibility. And, you know, I really do think that, well, I'm not going to say that everybody who does that is hurting themselves too, because, you know, some people are doing it just because they want to get laid as much as they can, and so they want all their possibilities lined up, right? I mean, it really depends on the person. But, you know, I just think it's less about worrying about why somebody's doing it, in my opinion, because you can't control them regardless of whatever their reasons may be, and more if you really figure like you're just being strung along and you can tell that that's happening. If you don't want to be strung along by this person, then get out. You know, if you recognize that that's what's going on, then why doesn't necessarily matter, is, you know, what I would say with that. And I think that's a good way to look at a lot of the stuff that people do that's kind of messed up in relationships. If somebody's not being honest, I'm a big fan of knowing why. Like, I love to know why. It's really hard for me to let go of things until I know why. But sometimes you just don't, you never find out. And so then all you can do is look at, well, is this what I want, even if I did know why? You know, and if I don't ever know why, then what do I want with that? Shane said, okay, why would my girl know we belong together, tells everyone, but she won't talk with me about it? Well, that's interesting, Shane. So I don't know if you mean like when you try, like if you try to actually have conversations with her about where things are going, and you want, if you're the one who wants to commit and then she's not willing to have those conversations, then that's sort of interesting to me. But I'm guessing that maybe what's going on is that it's also to me kind of like maybe an emotional immaturity thing. If she really knows that that's what she wants, and she's afraid that if she tells you that directly that it's going to scare you off and then she won't get it. So instead, like, she's going around and sort of like probably unconsciously, Kim, I like saying unconsciously to you, if she's, you know, going around unconsciously telling other people so that you'll find out somehow, you know, like she doesn't have to risk putting herself on the line and telling you exactly what she wants, just in case it's not what you want, or you know, because, you know, I think so many women are worried that guys are going to be afraid of commitment, and that once a woman starts talking about commitment that he'll get scared off. So it seems to me like it's just her way of trying to drop those hints everywhere. And then if you're, you know, if you're hearing that from all over the place, I would definitely sit her down and say, hey, this is what I'm hearing. And then depending on how you feel about it, either let her know you feel the same thing or that you don't. But she obviously wants you to know. She's just not able to actually come forward and say that. I feel like the light I put on tonight is so bad right now, but whatever. I'm just going to deal with it. Okay, so I can answer your question. Sorry. Okay, so that's my answer. Shane, if you want to, if you have any more details that you want to throw in, then I'll come back to it too. But just based on what you said, my guess is she's just trying to get you to find out without having to put herself on the line. Okay, so Kim asked if I could talk about the idea of chemistry checks for online dating. She said she was just telling a friend about it. So one of the really, really great experts at YourTango, her name's Ronnie and Ryan. She writes a lot of articles about dating. Technical difficulty night. She writes a lot of articles about dating and a lot about online dating, and mainly a lot about kind of things that women should and shouldn't do that turn men on or off. And so one of the things Ronnie talks about is how she really doesn't think that women should be the ones to ask men on dates, that you have to sort of follow that more old-fashioned rule of letting the men be the ones who are chasing. But what she says is that what you can do is you can ask a man. I'm accidentally turning on filters now. I don't know why. I'm not intending to. Okay, so she said what you can do is that you can ask a man out on what she calls date zero. So it's not asking him on the first date. It's asking him out, like, let's just go to coffee for a chemistry check. And so the idea is it's not a date, you know, like where he's going to pick you up and take you out, or however you guys decide between the two of you, you want to arrange it. And it's going to be like this formal date type evening. It's just going to be a chance for the two of you to meet and see in person, is there chemistry or not chemistry? And then take it from there. So her feeling is, and it's a little bit artificial of a way of kind of giving a woman permission to ask a guy on a first date, but it does make sense, I think, you know, to just say, like, look, especially, like, you know, people on, if you're on like Tinder or Bumble or like those kinds of apps right now, you can meet so many people all at once. And to try to, especially, you know, like for women, if you're like just getting all of these different messages from all of these different guys and you're trying to figure out, like, which one do I even want to meet, or which one do I want to talk to, or which one do I want to get to know? Instead of spending all this time trying to, like, getting to know all of these different people, just to say, hey, let's meet, let's do coffee, let's do a chemistry check. And then if there's chemistry, then let's go out on a date. And Ronnie's like follow-up is that after the chemistry check, the woman lets it go. And if there's going to be a first date, that the man should be the one to go for it. And that's based on, you know, her idea that most men want to be pursuing and most women want to be the one who's pursued. If you personally, in your way of going about it, if you want a relationship as the woman where you're the one who's sort of like in control and you're the pursuer, then my opinion would be, then you need to find a man who's cool with that. So then go ahead and ask men out on first dates. And if they don't like it, they're not the right kind of guy for you. But if you really are a traditional woman and you really do want a guy who's going to chase you, but you started out as the aggressor, you're never going to actually get the kind of guy you want. And so you're sort of setting yourself up to be disappointed over and over. And it's not that I think that there's anything, or I don't know if Ronnie, I don't think I've had a conversation with her about whether she thinks it's technically right or wrong to ask a guy out. Like, there's something wrong with it in my opinion, but I also just don't ever think relationships come out of that. I think sometimes guys say yes and you maybe get the date, but it doesn't ever really go anywhere if the guy wasn't the one who initiated it, if you're, you know, more of that traditional kind of thinker, just even like internally, just about that one like dating issue. So that's pretty much the chemistry check idea. Kim, if there was anything else specific about it you want me to say, let me know, but that's pretty much what a chemistry check is. And if anybody has questions, then you can ask that too. But I know there are so many questions tonight, which is awesome. So let me go see if I can find more. Okay, so Lucia says, I was in a relationship and the guy told me he just wants to be friends and told me he doesn't want to be with me. And we've been together for 3 years. Oh, I mean, so that's, you know, so I'd be interested to hear, but do you mean, I'm trying to read it. You were in a relationship and he just wanted to be friends. So I'm not really clear about what you're saying. If like after a while you stayed together and like he just wanted to be friends, but like you kind of stuck with it and so now you've been together for 3 years, or if you're saying after 3 years he just wanted to be friends. So if you wanted, I don't know if that's like a comment on something or if that's a question. So if you want to expand on that one, I'd be happy to go into it more. Oh, I see you put more at the beginning. So let me go back and find more. So many questions. I love it so much. I just have to find them. Okay, let's see. Aaron Diaz said, why does your website always hate on us Pisces? I didn't know that we hate on Pisces. We have so many zodiac articles and I'm an Aries and I think Aries do pretty well in our articles because we're pretty awesome. But I'm going to have to go back and take a look at our Pisces articles and see what they say now, Aaron, because I feel bad if you feel like the Pisces are getting the raw end of the deal. I'm going to make a note about that and take a look. I don't know what that's about. Okay, let's see where there's the next question. Okay. How can one person be an authority on such? Oh, I don't know if you probably mean like being an authority on like love, sex, and relationships. And I'm not going to say that I'm an authority. I just think that I have studied a lot and been through a lot and know a lot of people and read these articles all the time. So you can take or leave my advice as you would like. Okay, Annie said, why do people think I should have a boyfriend because I'm pretty? Relationships are so much more than the way a person looks. And when I try to be nice with my response, people keep going on and on. Well, I think, Annie, you know, that's a really, really frustrating thing. I think that people in general feel like other people should be coupled. And then they have their different reasons why they think people should be coupled. So because you're pretty, people say to you, you're so pretty, you should have a boyfriend. And then people who are really nice, people say, you're so nice, you should have a boyfriend. And then people who are, you know, successful business guys are like, you're so successful, you should have a girlfriend. And I think it's just this like societal pressure to partner. And it doesn't matter if you're pretty or not pretty or nice or not nice or successful or not successful. If you want a relationship and you're in a relationship, great. If you don't want a relationship and you're not in a relationship, great. If you want one and you haven't found one yet, you just haven't. So I would just feel free to just tell those people, just because I'm not, don't feel like it, you know, and just move on and just don't let them keep you in the conversation. But I don't think that's only about you being pretty, which I'm sure you are. I think that just is what everybody wants everybody else to be partnered up. Fred said, how do you get rid of a crazy ex? LOL, Ontario, Canada, looking for a partner and best friend. I think the only way to get rid of a crazy ex is to just stop talking to them, stop answering the phone. I've said this before on here, I don't tend to block people because I like to see where they are and I like to see what they're doing and I like to know if they're gonna freak out. And I feel like when you block somebody, that they can still see everything you're doing and create other accounts and get to you whatever way. But I think the only way to really get rid of a crazy ex, if they're not, you know, I mean, a stalker is a whole other issue for you to talk to the police department about. But if it's just getting rid of a crazy ex, you just have to stop, just be done. And I don't think there's any other way to try to, you know, stay friends with them. Marjorie said, how to meet your soulmate. And like, oh my God, I would probably make so much money if I could give you an accurate answer to that right at this exact minute. But we have a bazillion articles about it. And, you know, I think that just staying true to yourself and like what you authentically like and what you authentically like doing and getting involved as much as you can in stuff that you like, and then you'll meet other people through that. You know, just putting yourself out there and letting people know that you're available and being willing to talk to people and approach people and be out there as much as you can. But, you know, I wish that there was an easier answer. It's like the great question of time, right? Maricela said, why isn't there commitment anymore? You know, I think that there is and there isn't. And I think that it's a really, really tough thing. Like, I've sort of reached this place recently where, you know, I definitely don't know if I would consider myself polyamorous or not. I've never been in love with more than one person at one time, but I don't feel anymore like I was just talking to somebody about this today, actually. I feel like the whole institution of marriage, like it was, you know, it's really created as this way of creating social structures and economic structures and, you know, both controlling men and women. It wasn't just to control women. It was also a way of controlling men. And just because you get married, and I've been divorced, I've been married, I've been divorced. Just because you get married and you have this legal paperwork now does not mean that anybody's going to be more committed or more faithful than if you're just in a relationship with them for as long as the two of you want to be together. So, you know, I think part of it is all of the pressure that we put on everybody to be faithful. And then it's also, I think, about defining like, what does commitment mean to you? And then people being honest with themselves about when they want to make a commitment. Because yeah, you know, there are people, you can be committed to somebody, you know, emotionally, financially, you know, as far as the family is concerned, without necessarily being sexually committed to each other or sexually faithful to each other. You can be committed in all of those ways. I mean, my parents are about to celebrate their 50th anniversary, and I could be wrong, because anybody could be wrong, but I pretty much have no doubt in my mind that they've both been completely committed and faithful to each other for 50 years and are madly in love. I don't think that the majority of human beings are like that. I just don't. I don't think that we're really built that way. I think it's something that we've learned that we should expect. And I sort of feel like if there was less pressure on everybody about it, that maybe we would actually see more of it rather than less. But that's sort of like the soulmate question to me. It's like, if I actually could give you the answer, you know, to how to get more people into commitment, I would rule the universe right now. And unfortunately, fortunately I don't really want to rule the universe. It'd be a lot of work. Okay, let's see. Lori said, should you get a divorce if you've been having problems in your marriage and your spouse refuses to address them, talk about them, or make any reasonable changes? That's really subjective. You know, if you've tried everything that you possibly could try, and you've asked them to go to counseling and they've refused, or you've asked them to go to counseling and they've gone, but counseling hasn't worked. My personal take on marriage counseling, and my apologies to all of the YourTango experts who are marriage counselors, but I really feel like, as a former divorce mediator, the main benefit of marriage counseling is knowing that you've done everything that you possibly could do in order to keep the marriage from falling apart. But I think that, unfortunately, because so many people wait so long before they get counseling, that a lot of times, like, the resentment and the problems have just built up so much that they can't be resolved anymore. And I don't think there's any point in time where I could definitively tell you now is when you should get a divorce. I think that time is when you really feel like, I've done everything I could do. But okay, so here is a litmus test for if you should get a divorce that I find effective. It's helpful for me, and I found it helpful for other people. It's more helpful if you already have kids, and I don't know if you do. But if you have kids, or if you imagine your kids, and you think about yourself in your marriage and what your marriage is like, and then you picture one of your kids like standing in your position within your marriage, and you imagine that that's your kid with their spouse, not you with your spouse, but it's your kid in your shoes with their spouse. Are you happy for your kid? Are you happy for your child that this is the relationship they're in? Are you sort of like lukewarm about it and you feel like it could be better for them, but overall it's a pretty okay marriage and there are just things that could be better, but it's not, it's overall it's better than it is worse? Or do you picture your kid and feel like, oh my God, get out, because you love your kid so much, you don't want your kid to be suffering and miserable? I think that if you feel miserable for your child, if your child were in your shoes, then you need to get out. Both because that's telling about how you really feel, and also it's what you're modeling to your kid. You know, so your kid is watching your relationship with your spouse. And it may not be that you guys fight all the time. Like, you know, a lot of people think of a bad marriage as a marriage where everybody's yelling and fighting. It could just be that you're icy cold. You have nothing to do with each other. You never interact. You don't like to hang out. You don't like to just watch TV together. You know, it could be anything like that. Your kid is watching that. And I had pretty much every client who ever came into my office said, oh, well, we don't fight, you know, so the kids, they don't have any idea that there's a problem. And then we would have these conversations, these long drawn out conversations about how to tell the kids they were going to get a divorce. And then they would come back in after they had the conversation with the kid. And every single time, the kids were like, yeah, I know, like, your marriage sucks. You know, like, the kids knew. They know, like, your kids know. So that's, to me, that is a really, if you're really struggling with making a decision, and it's a super hard decision, I think picture your kids there and see how that makes you feel, and give that a try and see if it helps. Let's see. Genevieve says, why are most men my age, 40s, not wanting to commit? And am I a bit or a lot tired? And I am a bit or a lot tired of the dating pool. So yeah, I mean, I think that is a big thing in like the 40 something dating pool. I think like in your 30s, you're still having fun, and there's still people who are like, you know, thinking that they probably want to have kids. And then you get to your 40s, and I feel like you kind of have two, I don't know about women because I'm not looking at women on dating sites, so that's the only reason I'm speaking to men. You have two kinds of men. You have men who've never been married, haven't had kids. Okay, three kinds of men. You have ones who've never been married, never had kids, and now they're like in their mid or late 40s, and they still think that they can find some like 22-year-old chick and like have babies. And maybe they can and maybe they can't. I don't know. But like for me as a 40-something woman dating, I wouldn't even swipe right on those people. I wouldn't even bother. Not that they won't necessarily find what they want, but it's not going to be you, Miss, 40 something. Then there are the guys who are in their 40s and they never have been married, but they know that they're like kind of past the age of like wanting to have kids, and they don't, and they either know that they're kind of a confirmed bachelor and they're just going to want to have a series of more like serial monogamy kind of relationships or non-committed relationships. And then I think just you really have to be realistic about whether or not that's what you want. And then I think there are the men who have been married, so they're capable of making a commitment. They've made a commitment to somebody. They tried to make it work with somebody. They probably have kids. And for whatever reason, there are so many different reasons why divorces happen. And it could be him. It could not be him. It probably is a bit of both of them. And so for whatever reason, he's free again. And I think when those guys don't want to commit, I understand it. I actually find that more men, just from talking to people, more men who've been divorced want to get remarried, because I think the benefit of having a wife in a lot of ways is like higher than the benefit of having a husband. Like once you've already been through a marriage, like a lot of guys want the woman to like be taking care of his shit again. And I think a lot of women don't want to have the stress. Like once they've managed like separating and like dealing with everything on their own, they don't necessarily want to have to take care of a guy again. But in either case, I think a lot of people are just gun shy, because a divorce is really, 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 really hard to go through. And so I think a lot of times that fear of commitment is more the fear of, it's not the fear of love or the fear of being partnered. It's really the fear of ever having to go through a divorce again. So I think if you can get kind of cool with the concept of, look, I want to be with somebody, I want to fall in love with somebody, I don't have to necessarily get married, then I think you approach dating that way, I think you might find that more guys are open to other forms of commitment than you've been seeing as of right now. So that's what I would look at. Okay, so let's see. I see now the beginning of your question. So you said, why is it so hard to find a good man to love me? I'm always getting my heart hurt. I have a daughter. So what should I do about being with a guy around her? Okay, so those are two different questions, really. I mean, I think that it's hard to find a good man. It's hard to find a good woman. I think it's just really hard to find the right fit. And I think that that's really more of what the issue is. In the meantime, as far as your daughter and a guy being around her, I don't know how old your daughter is. I don't really necessarily, I've struggled with this. Like before I got divorced myself and went through this experience myself, I was of that mindset of, you know, oh, be dating them for 6 months and like be in a committed relationship before you introduce them to your kid. But then I really kind of learned, like there was one night I had been going on, like every once in a while when I would go on dates, I would go out when I had my kids instead of on a night where their dad had them, and I would have my babysitter coming and they'd ask me what I was doing, and I would say that I was going to go like to a work meeting or something, and that was why I was dressed up or had makeup on or whatever, because I felt like I didn't want them to feel weird that I was dating. And one night my older one, who was probably like 10 or 11 at the time, came up to me and he was like, are you going on a date? And I said, well, do you want me to be going on a date? And he was like, well, kind of. He's like, you know, kind of, because like I want you to be happy and I want to have a guy around. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm going on a date. And he was like, okay. And then he was really excited. And when I got back, he like wanted to know how it went and asked me questions about it. And part of it is I think the kids, it's just like the divorce thing. Kids have a really high parental bullshit radar, and they know if you're lying to them. So like for your daughter, like she's going to know if there's a guy who's somehow in your life who you're going to see. And I definitely wouldn't just introduce guys often or guys who you don't expect to have something with, but I don't necessarily think you have to wait until it's been a long time and it's been committed. And I would sort of, you know, do, depending on the age, you know, maybe like some of the like brief introductions, like brief hanging out, you know, like have them stop by before bedtime and like watch a show with you guys, and, you know, just like for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then spend more time together as you go and like feel it out and feel out how she's, you know, reacting, and let her feel free that she can ask questions about it. I just think the more you're honest with your kids about everything, the better and the more smoothly things go. And if we want, by the way, like all this stuff about why is it so hard for guys to be honest, you have to be honest with kids if you want to raise them to be honest human beings, right? So I think something to keep in mind if you have kids and you're struggling with trying to find guys who are honest is like raise honest kids, so it won't be like let them be honest people later. You can just keep that in mind. Secondary note. Laura said, I have a question. I'm just gonna flip this on because I didn't put a clock up. Okay. I have a question. My husband's ex-wife's friend requested me last week. Oh, friend requested me last week. My husband's ex-wife friend requested me last week. Oh, I haven't added it because I haven't had her because it's too weird for me since we've had a bad relationship for the past 20 odd years. In her defense, she apologized for whatever she's done. I mean, if you've been with your husband for 20 years, then I'm assuming they can't have kids who are younger than 18. So it's not, but they might have older kids that you guys still interact because of. I mean, I don't see any problem with accepting somebody's friend request because, like, it depends, like, what do you post on Facebook? Like, I would think about, like, what do you post? And is what you post anything, like, do you tend to make things public? Do you keep everything really private? Like, is there a downside to her seeing your stuff? You know, I think she can probably see things anyway, and kind of, she's following you anyway, and she can't see your public posts right now, but I feel like sometimes we get a little bit like hypersensitive with social media and what people potentially could see. And if there's something that you're doing in your life that you're posting for friends only that you is like illegal or you could get in trouble for, in which case it could happen anyway, then why not just let her see it? You don't have to interact with her. And you could do it kind of like on a trial basis and see, like, you don't have any problem after however long, until there's a problem. There's no reason. And you could always block her later or get rid of her later, unfriend her later. But I don't know, like maybe it's a good opportunity to build some bridges and have a better dynamic going on there. But, I would just think about, because I don't know what you post, I would just think, like, take a look in your own history about like the kind of stuff you post. And if there's nothing she could do with it, then I would accept it. I'd be curious. I'd want to see what she's going to do. I would do it just out of curiosity. And then you can see all of her stuff too. Could be fun. Okay. Let's see. Chris asked, how does a woman fall back in love with someone? Oh, I feel like, Chris, you're probably asking because maybe you want somebody to fall back in love with you. So I hope that they do. I don't know how that happens. And I don't know how often it happens that people fall back in love. I think people break up for all kinds of reasons, and they maybe don't break up because one person wasn't in love, but because there was something else going on, and then they rekindle things. Or it could be maybe if you're not broken up and you're married and you guys kind of like, there's that feeling like you've fallen out of love. Maybe you need to go back to what it was like when you were dating and try that again. I think that the real thing would be to ask the specific woman, what is it that got lost for you, and what could we do that would fix that? And then when she tells you, do it. Like a lot of people ask questions like that and then they hear the answer and they are like, okay, and then it sounds like a lot of work, so then they don't really want to do what would actually work, and so then it doesn't happen, in which case, still, at least you would feel like you asked her, but like ask her and listen and do it. And then if it doesn't work, then I think you need to just accept that it isn't possible in that circumstance. And if she won't tell you what you could do, that's her way of saying it's not possible. And it may be that she was never in love in the first place and just doesn't want to say that. Because, nobody wants to, well, some people want to hurt people, but like usually people don't want to hurt somebody. So they might say, I fell out of love, when the truth is they never really were. So, it's just the kind of thing, like I would definitely give it the try, but I would try to move on is really probably the better idea. Okay, let's see. Oh, a lot of people are enthusiastic about the toy option. So thumbs up for the toys in the bedroom. Stacy asked, is it possible to love someone at first sight? I think so, for sure. I've definitely had that experience. And I think that, love is just so subjective. It's so different for everybody. And nobody can ever tell you if you are or you aren't in love. And I don't think nobody can tell you how long it's going to take you to fall in love, or that you can't fall in love at first sight. And I don't believe I've ever fallen in love with somebody without seeing them, but like maybe like the time I'm thinking of where I definitely know I fell in love at first sight. I could probably say that I was in love before, but I think it was really at first sight, or at the kiss at least, So I think that there's a certain degree of attraction and love that's like a chemical reaction that just like your DNA and their DNA, just like something about it feeds the energy of the other in this like really amazing positive way. And I think that it probably actually even happens, in my opinion, more often than people let themselves think that it does. And I think we get so analytical about it, and we spend so much time because it can't possibly just be that easy to just fall in love with somebody at first sight. And so I think then we kind of like push back like our natural, I don't want to sound like too woo-woo, but I think we like kind of push back our natural like energetic reaction to somebody and sort of like prevent that connection from like setting in. And I think more often than not, when people were having a good connection like that and it could have been something, it's to me, more often than not, one person just being too much in their head and not being able to let it go. So just to answer your basic question, yes, I absolutely think that it's true. I mean, it's possible to fall in love at first sight, and I kind of wish more people would believe that. I think that would be nice. Let's see. Is being with someone for years worth anything? Of course it is, but I'm not sure what that was related to. Let's see. Oh, I think everybody's chatting about one of the conversations. I'm going to see if I can find one more question because it's getting to be late now. Let's see. It's about the people stringing everybody along. Oh, Stacy asked again about love at first sight. Sherry said, you teach people how to treat you. What you tolerate will persist. If you feel you're being strung along and you don't like it, remove yourself as an option from that person. Totally agree. Erin said, when you find your identity, there's no need to string someone along because then you're true to yourself and you can be honest. Absolutely, Erin, I think that's great. Maricela said it's selfish when people string people along. I agree. Lori said, Mel B, I'm a bit relieved it's not just me. I mean, if you refuse to fix things, why should the other party stay when they're unhappy? Oh, Chloe's back. Hey, Chloe. Chloe was so much fun 2 weeks ago. So much fun. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I love doing these things. And I love seeing you guys all here and like chatting, even when I can't follow all of your comments. It's because, yeah, like that's part of the reason is pretty much anything that you're going through and like anything that you're feeling, other people are going through and feeling too. And so it's just nice sometimes just to even see that other people, it's just not just you, you know? I mean, not that you want anybody else to be going through a bad thing, but you know, it's generally not you. Oh, Taylor James said, you look so much like Christina Vargas, and I have no idea who that is. So I'm going to be Googling Christina Vargas when this is over. Let's see. Oh, Aaron said, like I said, women are the new men. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't feel very manly, but I don't know. Isaac said, I do hope that if would care for love is maybe a woman for me around my area in Greensboro, North Carolina. Okay, if anybody's looking for love in Greensboro, North Carolina, Isaac Banks is looking for somebody, just so you know. Oh, Kevin said you're really beautiful. Thank you, Kevin. Crane said, how can you tell if she's a gold digger? I don't know. Are you really wealthy, Crane? I mean, I don't know. Like, how can you tell if a guy just wants to get in your pants? Like, I think you just have to sort of listen to people and watch how they're treating you and see how you feel around them and see what the relationship's like. And, you know, Chris, if you're like a billionaire and she really just wants you for your money and she's treating you in such an amazingly good way that you can't even tell, then I don't know, does it matter? And if she's a bitch and she doesn't want a penny of your money, but she's just nasty to you, would you stay with her just because she doesn't want your money? I mean, I think it's so much more important to look at how people are treating you than to necessarily try to figure out like everybody's motivations for everything, because you can't ever do that. So all you really can know is how someone's treating you, how you feel when you're with them, how you feel when you think about them. Are they there for you? Are you there for them? Is it fun and easy? And I wouldn't worry about those kinds of things. Like, you know, what's their underlying motivation like that? Adita said, why after 2 months of crazy happy relationship does a man just bail with no explanation and just text? I didn't have the time I thought I did because he's married to his job. I mean, that for sure. I know I've had that experience, Adita. So I hear you. And I don't know that I've ever really figured out the answer except to say you just weren't for him for whatever his reasons were. You know, I mean, I think everybody who wants to be your friend and like wants to make you feel better says like, oh, he got scared of commitment, or you were too perfect for him, or like what, maybe you were and maybe he was, but I think most of the time he just figured out that it just wasn't what he wanted. And if he's not there, he's not going to be there. So it sucks and it's a crappy position to be in, but I think it's just easier to accept that if he had wanted to be there, if he was really all that into it, he still would be. Let's see. Chris said that I'm like his parents trying to figure out their smartphone. I know, I was bouncing it around a lot, and I just got an iPhone. I've had an Android forever, but I'm probably not as, I hope I'm not as old as your parents. Let's see. Let's see if I can find one more question. Wade said, how do people know that they have chemistry? And I think it's really just a matter of, like I said before about the love at first sight, that some people you just like exchange that energy with them and you just know because you can feel it. You know, I think chemistry is just a word that people use, but it's the same thing as if you want to use energy or connection or whatever it is. But I have a feeling that you know it when you feel it, and that if you were willing to trust it and believe it, that it wouldn't be so hard to figure out. That's what I think. Wade McKenzie. Okay, let's see. I lost my soulmate 5 years ago and haven't, this is Terry. I lost my soulmate 5 years ago and haven't been with another man. We hook up here and there. Will he ever come back to me? I need answers. His birthday is tomorrow. Well, I don't know how you lost, like when you first said I lost my soulmate 5 year ago, Terry, I'm reading this and I was thinking that your soulmate passed away and I was going to feel really bad for you. I mean, Terry, I'm going to tell you, if you haven't heard from him in 5 years, I don't think he's coming back. And I know that that sucks, but I want to be honest with you because I think you should move on. And I would just sort of let his birthday go, and you can light a candle for him if you want, get a little cake or something. But, you know, if he was going to be there, he'd be there. Unless there's some special circumstance that you're just not, you know, filling us in on. Okay. Oh, so Aaron answered the question. He said, if a guy tells you he wants to be friends, he wasn't into you in the beginning, he was stringing you along and he hasn't found his identity. So it could be that too. I mean, I do think that there are times when people really like just aren't sure at the beginning, or they're excited at the beginning, but they're not really, you know, then you spend time with somebody and maybe you like, there was something you thought you were into that you're not into, or, something happens that rubs you the wrong way and you realize, oh, I don't want to be a part of that part of it. You know, like there's all kinds of little random things that can trigger people to not want that relationship anymore. Christina said, people also think that women shouldn't fix hot tubs or clean houses like I do. They say I should work in an office because of how I look. It's all stereotypes. Don't deal with that. So I'm going to assume, Christina, that that was about the not asking guys out on dates first. Okay, so that's what I meant though when I said, like, if you're a woman who doesn't want that kind of a relationship, then don't follow that advice. Don't listen to Ronnie. Like, if you don't want to follow that advice because you don't feel that that works for you, then don't. But for women who do want to have that kind of a traditional relationship, and I know a lot of women who do, then that's the intent of that whole chemistry check situation. But it's not to say that anybody who chooses to just do whatever they want to do anyway is wrong. So there you go. Aaron said, love is simple. It's about being true to each other, communicate your feelings and expectations. I mean, I agree with that 100%. I think that honesty is just huge. And I think that it's such a shame that more of us feel so scared to be honest about little things to big things. I just think nothing good ever comes out of dishonesty or hiding stuff. And I think that the more people are honest with each other, then the more that they can also feel relaxed with each other and feel more secure with each other. I think that honesty does a hell of a lot more than a marriage certificate. I'll tell you that much, for keeping people cool with each other. Okay. Just looking if there's any more. Oh, Teresa said, should the guy lead the exclusive talk? I mean, that, you know, again, like if you want to follow, like I know that if Ronnie and Ryan were on here right now, Ronnie would say yes. I feel like sometimes you have a certain type of personality and you can't not have the talk, then I don't think it's worth it to try to stifle yourself and not be true. You have to be authentic to who you are. So if being authentic to who you are means that you're the kind of woman who has to have that talk when you want to have that talk, then do it. Just know that he might not like you leading that talk and it could work against you. I'm sort of like a fan of the whole idea that you shouldn't have to have the talk at all. Like nobody should have to lead the talk, because if you're really into each other, it should just become the thing that you're together, and you start to spend more time together. You start to spend time with each other's families. You start to introduce each other around. And I feel like we should just be able to let things be a lot more organic. Not saying that I do that or master that in any way, shape, or form, but I'm just saying I feel like that would really be the ideal. But if it's bothering you, just because you're the woman or the man, like, I don't think it matters if you feel like you need to have the talk and nobody else has. So I'm going to look really quick at the time. So it's already been it's been 50 minutes that I've been here. So there are so many, I cannot wait to go back and read everything you guys have written in here, because I just love that everybody was talking so much. But I'm going to go ahead and end it for tonight. So thank you guys for being here. This was so much fun for me. It's always so much fun. I love seeing everybody and answering your questions. And I will go back through and see if there were specific questions I missed. I'm going to learn from you guys by reading all of your different comments with each other. And so I will be back next Sunday at the same time, so 7:15 Pacific, 10:15 Eastern, and then on Tuesday and Thursday at the same time, you can tune in and see Becca After Dark with Becca Stokes, who's phenomenal. And then on Wednesday, Joanna Schroeder is here at the same time. And tomorrow night, we have a really special Facebook Live happening with the CEO and founder of YourTango, Andrea Miller. She wrote a new book called Radical Acceptance, and I actually think it's a great book for a lot of these questions that everybody's asking. It has a really wonderful philosophy and way of coming to accept yourself and the person that you love, and sort of managing your own emotions through the relationship and all of that. So that'll be at the same time tomorrow night. And have a great week, everybody. And it's great to see you. Thanks for being here. Bye.